Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I hope this webinar finds you well and safe. Again, thank you so much for joining right now. So I'm Samantha Westphal. I'm an account manager here at ADvendio, mostly focused on the US market. And then I'm also joined by Jan. Jan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks a million, Sam. So welcome everyone from my side as well. Here at ADvendio, I am responsible for the account management and sales management as well. I'm taking care of our global partner management. And yes, I'm really excited to be part of this webinar today. So yeah, feel free, of course, like Sam mentioned, to use the chat box during the presentation. And at any time, whatever questions you might already have or which comes up during the meeting, please feel free to answer them, and we will take some time at the end for Q&A, and hopefully we find an answer for everything.
Yes, and I just want, yes, exactly. So feel free to ask any questions. And we just wanted to note that for those of you that weren't able to attend this programmatic webinar back in February, I believe, this is a repeat. So, you know, it's me and Jan presenting, so hopefully it'll be a little different, but if it looks familiar, it's because this is a repeat webinar. But again, thanks so much for joining, and we really just wanted to take the time for you to ask any questions so that we can answer those live. Okay, so, you know, with the industry changing so much, and kind of as media companies go more and more towards increasing their programmatic revenue, we kind of know that there's a lot of challenges, and unfortunately, manual workflows, even though programmatic is such an automatic process, there's still a lot of manual workflows that happen in the background. So for example, placing deals in multiple systems. Jan, a quick question for you. So I know that you've spoken to a lot of customers who are using programmatic. How many SSPs do you think they typically use?
Yeah, of course, this really depends on the size of the customer itself, and especially on the inventory they're managing. But to give you like an average, it's probably between 5 to 7, I would say.
Yeah, 5 to 7, could be more. You know, you never know. But since they have so many SSPs, it can take so long to kind of pull that data back, or alternatively place your deals in all those systems. So it can be really repetitive and manual. And since you have so many different systems, your data is captured in different formats. It's not linked to your existing sales data. So I know a lot of our customers here, you know, you're working within Salesforce, your direct sales are within Salesforce, excuse me, in ADvendio, but your programmatic revenue is maybe in different systems. So you can't really compare, you know, okay, how are my direct sales doing compared to my programmatic guaranteed or your open auction? And so you can't really optimize your yield or kind of adjust your sales strategy and pricing strategy if you don't have that data. And then kind of the last pain point is that there's not a lot of transparency. So kind of like I mentioned before, you can't see your direct and programmatic data and analytics and KPIs all in one spot. So it seems like direct sales are kind of over here to the left and programmatic's to the right, and there's not a lot of communication between the two, but it's important because it's all revenue. Okay. And so there's a couple things that you can do to speed up your programmatic processes and advertising. So the first is that you can automate your booking. So you can save time and effort to focus more on your core business. You can also automate the enrichment and normalization of your data so that it's easy to compare. We're actually going to be kind of focusing on that today, on how you can automate that. And then another one is kind of using templates. So the more templates that you use to visualize your data to compare it, the quicker it is to gain useful insights from your data and you know, make those real-time decisions.
That sounds really amazing, Sam. But I think probably the best way to demonstrate how this all looks like is when we jump in right into the system, right?
Yeah, yep, that was my next slide. And so I'll go ahead and actually show you, how we can automate the enrichment of your data. How do you import such large amount of data and synchronize it? And how do you do that essentially automatically or in real time? So now I'm going, as you can see, I'm in the Einstein Analytics Studio with the Programmatic Revenue Cockpit. And so let's say, and let's pretend that I have many hats. Let's say that I am, I'm in charge of kind of analyzing all of our revenue streams. And then later down the line, we can kind of put this data into practice. So at the top, you'll see, how much revenue per SSP is being brought in per month. So I know I personally have spoken to a lot of people who are kind of analyzing and evaluating their SSPs to see if it makes sense to continue to do business with them. And so you can see who's your top performing SSP. In this case, it's Xandr, formerly known as AppNexus. And then you can also see per channel. So it looks like we're doing pretty well in direct sales, but even better in open auction, and also pretty good in programmatic direct.
So basically you can cover all the different types, which are referring to programmatic advertising. Everything can be done basically in ADvendio.
Yep, and analyze it accordingly.
Okay, great.
So you can also see your revenue per advertiser and buyer. So you can see that Nike is our top advertiser, games companies are second, and then Mitsubishi is our third. And then in a moment, we'll kind of drill down and see what real insights we can gain in the moment. And then you can also see the revenue that's being brought in by your top performing medium, and then also your top ad format. So it looks like our video pre-rolls are doing really well, as well as our takeovers. So kind of seeing this data in real time, we can see, okay, so we've been doing really well with our pre-rolls, but perhaps we need to bump up our mobile or our skyscrapers, or maybe even your leaderboard. So kind of seeing this in real time, you don't have to pull that data in from all different sources. You can make those decisions accordingly.
That looks fantastic, Sam. But just because it's quite a complex dashboard, so I'm just curious, like, does it require a lot of configuration and matching to basically unify all these different data streams?
So it actually doesn't. So you would need to kind of set it up at the start, and we'd help match that. But once it's all matched and all the data has been sourced accordingly, it's ready to go and ready for you to analyze down the road.
Oh, great. That sounds good.
Yeah. And so now let's kind of look in at a specific advertiser. So let's click into Nike, or how about, no, let's do Mitsubishi. Just kidding, Nike. I'm partial to Nike. Okay, so you can see that the majority of our sales are coming from direct sales, and then a good chunk is programmatic direct as well. And then a smaller amount is through the open auction. And let's compare this to Fashionaways. So let's pretend that we've been trying to build relationships with Fashionaways, and you can see, okay, so our direct sales are a smaller amount, programmatic is our second largest revenue stream, but open auction is actually our largest revenue stream. So perhaps in this instance, you could say, okay, team, let's kind of take a portion of this open auction revenue and let's kind of upsell and use a programmatic guaranteed deal. So kind of having these insights can help you influence your programmatic sales strategy as well. And then scrolling down, we kind of talked about this ad format. So you can see kind of why is digital today performing so well. And you can see, we're selling a lot of video pre-roll. And not so much rectangles or skyscrapers. Perhaps we could bump this up. And if you wanted to look at perhaps a lower performing one, so the cinema TV, you could see, okay, so we're not selling any video pre-roll here. Maybe we want to implement that product on this website. So I know it's a lot of data. It's really beautiful, and I have so much fun playing around in it. But you could spend a lot of time really analyzing and clicking in and drilling down to see how you can kind of optimize your yields and adjust your product strategy as needed.
No, that's really great, because I know, because when I talk to clients, this is a really important thing for them. So because it's so hard to see for them who bid on what and when and where. So maybe I just saw in the beginning when you started with the dashboards, there was like an inventory cockpit as well. So maybe you can go a little bit more into detail with this one as well.
Sure. So here's kind of a deeper breakdown of your inventory and then your advertisers. So kind of like what we talked about before, we looked at, maybe we can bump up our programmatic guaranteed sales with Fashion Ways. And then look at all these companies. These are all open auction. Maybe if you don't have a direct sales or programmatic sales relationship with them, you know that they're bidding on your site. So you can kind of go in and see if you can grow relationships that way. And so here you can, again, compare your revenue per advertising medium, and then also your sold impressions per product. So we've sold a lot of impressions for our mobile interstitial on open auction. And then here, that video pre-roll, if you remember, Jan, that was our highest performing product. This is all through Programmatic Direct. So that's pretty interesting. So it's fewer impressions that have been sold, but it's our highest yielding product.
Those are some great insights, definitely.
Yeah, and then scrolling down, it also can calculate your average ECPM per product, and again, depending on your channel. So you can spend a lot of time here evaluating your products and seeing if you can optimize it.
That all sounds awesome. So for me, it really refers to probably more like the analyst or the operation teams to have this overview. But what about like the average sales rep? How can they be involved in the programmatic sales process?
That's a really good point. So I'm going to actually switch over right now into the ADvendio sales and order application, and we're just going to look on the account level. So there's a couple of things that this, our normal sales rep can do to be involved on the programmatic sales side of things. So first, if let's say we're the account owner of IKEA, and we have been, we're mostly working on direct sales, but we're learning more about programmatic. It's a little confusing, but we're doing well. And we kind of just go to the account, we'll see their revenue overview, and we can see, okay, so they really love digitaltoday.com, and they also like the medical news app. And this is all revenue that's coming in through open auction. So how about, when we're building our sales pitches or you're getting ready for your meetings, you kind of look at this data and you kind of inform that with your pitch or your plan. So you can say, okay, so they really like digitaltoday.com. I'll make sure that, perhaps we can offer them premium inventory or invite them to a private auction. And so using this data to inform your personal sales practice could be one thing. And then on a more tactical level, of course, you could send over a programmatic guaranteed deal. You could push that directly over from ADvendio to your SSP or exchange. So let's just check at this one. And then because your programmatic guaranteed deal is in ADvendio, you can do all those really nice workflow rules. So if you need to get all pricing approved before you send it over, or if you need to, you want workflow triggers, so an email or a notification or even a report, since it's all in one system, your direct and programmatic sales, you just have a lot more control and transparency. So this is kind of one example of the programmatic guaranteed deal. So it's a sports sidebar, you just add it and then you'd submit it over to the exchange right here. And that's how kind of your...
So this can all be done automatically, so there's no manual process behind. So I just have to press the button and then it's submitted?
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
And so then, yeah, that'd be pushed over to the SSP. And so then, once the advertiser or the buyer accepts, it will report that back to ADvendio. So you don't have to do more manual processes. Yeah. Just one system.
Really good. Yeah. No, it's really good to know, especially like when I'm now referring like to the sales perspective. So as a sales rep, I want to know, of course, how can I push my campaigns? And especially I really like the idea because of course the dashboard was really shiny and it looks awesome and I get all this basically unified data in one place. But from a sales perspective, of course, when I'm preparing for a meeting, I want to have just the data from my, in this case, we had for IKEA, I just want to prepare for the meeting. And so just with this report, this is all referring exactly to this account. I got all the information. So that's really great. That's really easy to use.
Yeah, it's super informative. And then from kind of a managerial or perspective, it's just nice to have more control and transparency, because kind of right now it kind of feels like the Wild West at times. You just don't know what's happening, where your revenue is coming in from, and this kind of helps improve that transparency. But we're going to go back to those slides to kind of, debrief what we just saw. Okay. And kind of what you saw today is what's available now, but just know that we are working on more to expand the offerings of the programmatic advertising cockpit. Here's your forward-looking statement. So, don't make decisions on the future. We can't predict the future, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe to just give you, again, just a quick outlook. You already have seen like kind of our product roadmaps of what SSPs we want to connect in the future. But just to give you a really brief overview about which direction we are going, especially when we're talking about programmatic. So of course, maybe you already got the impression in this webinar today, of course, the idea is that we can unify and basically streamline all the different data you have from your different SSPs and exchanges just in one system. So, and even further, we want basically to enable you to have functions like self-booking, especially for SMBs, and automate direct marketplaces. So of course, especially the automation in times like this is so important. So this is something we're really going to. And another point, of course, is artificial intelligence. This pretty much seems like a buzzword for me, but it's so important because you have seen how much insights you get if you really are able to analyze all your data. So if you have the option to basically streamline all the data in one system, you will be able to get some really good insights, to have a good analyze, and to at least make good sales predictions and product recommendations. So we can really use all this data to really benefit our business. And just one more outlook in the end. So what we recognized, like basically in the past month, is really a high demand, even from the buying side as well. So this is just a small sneak peek. So this is something we really already achieved some great developments, and this is something we want to go in this direction as well. So talking about agency and buying solutions.
Awesome. Thank you, Jan.
Sure. So for all the current customers, like for all these integrations, that ADvendio Connect module is required. And basically for the functionalities you have seen today, so for the analytic parts, the fee is basically 75 euros per user per month. And additionally, there's like a storage fee, like you can see. So just to give you like a general idea how the list pricing works. But of course, we're really curious to have a chat with you to see what are your specific requirements. And I'm convinced that we find a really good solution for you. Awesome. So feel free to reach out to us. Of course, we're happy to assist and basically answer everything that you want to know. Yeah, and thank you so much, Sam, for giving us these insights and showing us around.
Thanks, Jan, for joining me, and thanks so much, everyone, for joining us today. I hope you're well and sharing my morning with you all. Now I need some coffee.
Stay safe and healthy, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.